Laba abangabafaka isicelo ke fanele kube ukuthi ke njengoba begunyazwe la banikezelwa izinsuku eziyishumi-nanhlanu kula begunyazwe khona okudaba ekutheni benze okufanelekile ukuthi phela manje bafake isicelo ngendlela okuyiyona noma efanelekile. Uma behlulwe ukuthi bakwenze lokho kuley'nsuku eziyishumi-nanhlanu kuyobe sekusho ukuthi phela manje-ke bobe sebephelelwa isikhathi ekubeni manje isikhathi benaso. Kodwa-ke futhi-ke manje-ke iy'ndleko zalapho cha inkantolo asikho isinqumo esithiphile manje nokuthi-ke kukhona iy'ndleko okufanelekile akhishwanga. Nanokuthi futhi-ke lana-ke inkantolo ichithile isicelo sabo la kuleli cala leli noma kunamba C, D, E no F ney'ndleko zikhona ukuthi bona laba abangabantwana amazinyane fanele akhokhele iy'ndleko zalolu daba lolu nalabameli ababili abafanele
Now I move on to the matter of Prince Pietermaritzburg, which is the last application.
Njengamanje-ke inkantolo-ke izoqhubeka-ke manje iyodingeka-ke la udaba-ke lukamntwana umbonisi Pietermaritzburg okuyisicelo-ke la sokugcina eceleni inkantolo-ke iyidingile beyifakwe phambi kwayo.
It's case number 10879/21P. Prince Mbonisi seeks to interdict the coronation of Prince Misuzulu as the CEO of the Zulu nation, which was allegedly scheduled to take place on 3 December 2021. On 2 December 2021, this court declined to grant the urgent relief sought and adjourned the matter and directed that it be heard together with the applicant queen and the applicant princess's applications. The primary issue in this matter is the question of succession to the Zulu throne.
Isicelo-ke la somntwana-ke uMisuzulu wayecela inkantolo-ke lana ukuthi-ke inqande lana-ke ukugcotshwa-ke komntwana uMisuzulu njengesilo lana-ke lana samabandla-ke la okwakufanele noma-ke lana-ke senzeke noma kwafanele agcotshwa ngomhla 3 kuDisemba-ke kunyaka ka-2021 okwadapha ngomhla ka-2 kuDisemba inkantolo ayabe-ke inqaba ukugunyaza-ke la lesi sicelo sasesithuthuma kodwa la kehliswa-ke udaba kwayalelwa ukuthi lezi zicelo zonke masihlanganiswe ukuze zilalelwe mkanye sesifana nesicelo lesi sikaNdlunkulu kanjalo nalesi samazinyane-ke esilo okuyibona daba-ke lapho lokhu imayelana nobukhosi.
In this matter, the applicant seeks an order in the following terms. A, interdicting and restraining the first and second respondents from preparing and organizing the coronation of the first respondent as the Silo AmaZulu, scheduled for 3 December 2021, pending the final determination of the applications under case numbers 2751/2021P and 2752/2021P. B, interdicting and restraining the fourth respondent from recognizing or undertaking any steps which may reasonably be construed as recognizing the first respondent as the Silo AmaZulu, pending the final determination of the applications under case number 2751/2021P and 2752/2021P, and in the event that the fourth respondent has completed all processes envisaged in Section 17 of the KZN Act, that the third respondent be interdicted and restrained from issuing a certificate of recognition to the first respondent as isilo samaZulu.
Lapho udaba ke la umntwana umbonisi inxusa inkantolo ukuthi ke phela inkantolo ke la mayigunyaze noma ke inqande ke la loyo ke laba abamangalelwa okuqala nalo wesibili ekutheni ke balungise bahlele benze izinhlelo zokugcotshwa ke kwaloyo umangalelwa okuqala njengesilo samabandla eyaye kade kuzoyenziwa ngomhla ka-3 kuDisemba nyaka 2021 kuze kube ukuthi ke ukuphothulwa isicelo lesibabe kade besifakile ke la ngokwalamacala ke amabili ngokwenombolo zakhona ku-2751 of 2021p naleso sokuthi ku-2752 of 2021p. Nanokuthi futhi ke lana ke aphinde akunxusa ke ngokwesicelo sakhe ukuthi phela inkantolo ke inqande ke lana ke lo omangalelo noma umangalo wesine mayelana nokuthi athathe noma azise noma bekhona ke izinqumo izinyathelo ayizosithatha ke la zokuthi noma zokwenza lo ongumfaki omangalelwe umangalelo oqala njengesilo samabandla ukuthi ke kuze kube ukuthi kuphothulwa lamacala ke la omabili ke afakiwe oku-2 751 of 2021 naleli elu-2752 of 21p. Isona ke lokayicela ke la ukuthi ucela ukuthi nje kube ukuthi ke lo akangathathwa njengesilo samabandla nanokuthi futhi la uma ngabe ke ukuthi ke lo ophendelayo eceleni lesine ukuthi ke kwenzeke konke ke la ngokomthetho ke kodwa banikezela inkantolo noma batshela inkantolo ukuthi ngokomthetho wabazonathala inkantolo mayimise noma ke ingagunyazi ukuthi loyo athathwe noma ke zonke izinhlelo ezenziwe uma ngabe kuzogcotshwa isilo kodwa inkantolo inqande ukuthi ke akumiswe konke ke lokho.
According to the African prince, after the passing of the Silo, the royal household was engulfed by serious divisions. The late Isilo's will nominated and appointed the late Queen as his successor to the throne. The late Isilo's will was read on 19 March 2021. On 24 March 2021, the Zulu Royal Family met and appointed the late Queen as regent to hold the throne during the mourning period. The minutes of such meeting were subsequently forwarded to the Premier for him to undertake the necessary official processes for the finalization of the appointment. However, before appointment was gazetted as required by law, the late Queen passed away on 29 April 2021.
Kanti ke la ngokwesicelo ke lesi sifake umntwana ke lana ke ukubonisa ke ukuthi ke emveni kokuba ke kwakhothama ke isilo indlu yasekhosini ke yakubazelwa emveni kokubazelwa lelifo elimnyama kwabe bese kuba khona impela uqhekeko olwabankhulu ke impela la njengoba phela isilo lesi sisakhothama ke la incwadi yaso yefa iyayi kade iqoke indlovukazi lena iseyakhothama engasekho njengomuntu noma njengoyena wayefanele ukuthi ahlale esihlalweni okwathi ke emveni isilo ke sesikhotheme incwadi yefa yesilo yasungulwa ngomhla ka-19 kuMarch kunyaka 2021 nokwathi ke lapha ngomhla ka-24 kuMarch 2021 lapha ke ebukhosini ke bakwabe sebedibana ke nokuyilapho babe sebeqoka ke le ndlovukazi njengebambela bukhosi elalizobambela ke ubukhosi ngalesikhathi ke besazilile lana ke ngesikhathi kusaziliwe okwathi ke na emveni ke nje lapho ke kwasesethatha yonke imininingwana yayonke ke umhlangano loyo obekhona yabe ke sithunyelelwa ke la ke undunankulu ukuthi undunankulu ke enze izinto ezifanelekile okufuneke ziphothulwe ke mayelana nokuqokwa kwebambela bukhosi Nokwathi-ke ngaphambi kokuthi-ke lana-ke uhlanganiswe-ke yonke into lana ukuthi kuqokwe lo owayesezoba ozongena esihlane sobukhosi-ke njengokumthetho udinga, kwabe-ke sekukhothama yona-ke indlovukazi okuyiyona-ke iqokiwe lapho ngomhla ka-29 ku-April-ke kunyaka ka-2021.
Prior to her death, the late Queen, at the meeting of the royal family on 30 March 2021, proposed and nominated Prince Misuzulu as the successor to the throne in terms of the Zulu customary law and customs. The Zulu Royal Family assembled on 14 May 2021 and identified Prince Misuzulu as the successor to the Zulu throne in accordance with the Zulu customary law and customs. Prince Mbonisi and Princess Thembi-Ndlovu did not attend the meeting and tendered their apologies. However, the African princesses did not attend the meeting, although they had been invited, and did not tender any apology. At such meeting, Prince Mangosuthu Buthelezi proposed and nominated Prince Misuzulu as the successor to the throne. The proposal and nomination of Prince Misuzulu as the successor to the throne was unanimously supported, and Prince Misuzulu accepted the nomination. No dissension was recorded, no query was raised, and no grievance was lodged at such meeting.
Ngaphambi-ke kokuthi-ke kukhothame-ke indlovukazi-ke la kwaba khona emhlanganweni waba khona-ke lapha. Ngaphambi kokuthi kukhothame-ke indlovukazi lapha kwaba khona umhlangano waba khona lapha ebukhosini ngomhla ka-30 March unyaka 2021, nokuyilapho-ke kwahlongozwa-ke kwabe-ke sekuqokwa-ke umntwana uMisuzulu njengoyena-ke ozohlala esihlalweni-ke la ngokomthetho-ke lana wamaZulu nangokwesintu. Lapha-ke ebukhosini-ke kwaba khona-ke inguyazane yabanjwa ngomhla ka-14-ke kuMeyi kunyaka ka-2021, nokuyilapho kwabe-ke sekugagulwa-ke umntwana uMisuzulu njengoyena-ke ozohlala-ke esihlalweni-ke la njengoba phela kushiwo ngokomthetho-ke la. Kanti-ke umntwana uMbonisi nomntwana-ke uThembi-Ndlovu-ke bona abazange bawuhambele le nguyazane eyibanjiwe, kodwa baveza-ke noma baxolisa-ke. Kwathi-ke noma kunjalo-ke laba amazinyane-ke amanye-ke la azange aye la emhlanganweni ababekade futhi bewumenyelwe, futhi abazange futhi bazibakhombise nanokuthi badlulise amazwi okuxolisa ukungabikho-ke kwabo. Emhlanganweni-ke loyo wabakhona nokuyilapho-ke umntwana uMangosuthu Buthelezi-ke wabe esehlongoza noma eveza eqoka umntwana uMisuzulu njengokuyena ufanele ukuthi-ke athathe-ke angene esihlalweni-ke la. Ukuqokwa-ke la ukuhlongozwa nokuthi kuqokwe komntwana uMisuzulu njengoyena-ke manje owayesezongena-ke la esihlalweni-ke la kwasekelwa, futhi umntwana uMisuzulu wamukela-ke naye njengoba sekuqokwe-ke la. Kodwa-ke akuzange kube khona-ke zinto-ke la ezavezwa noma ukuphikisana-ke la noma ukungajabuli-ke lapha-ke emhlanganweni wokuqhubeka.
Subsequent to the royal family meeting of 14 May 2021, a dissenting faction of the members of the royal family held a meeting where Prince Magalde was purportedly nominated as a contender for the throne. However, he did not accept the nomination. After such meeting on 3 June 2021, Princess Thembi-Ndlovu purportedly lodged a dispute with the President of the Republic of South Africa in terms of Section 8 and 12 of the Leadership Act. She stated that there was no agreement within the Zulu royal family as to who should be the successor to the throne. One section had appointed Prince Misuzulu Sibongile Dlamini-Zulu as a successor, and the other Prince Magalde Jackson Dlamini-Zulu. There was thus an alleged disagreement regarding the succession to the throne.
nokwathi ke emveni ke kokuba ke ngapho nokwabe sokuba emveni kwalo umhlangano owaba khona ngomhla 14 kuMeyi unyaka 2021 kwaba khona ke phela manje ke ukuthi kube khona kuba khona phela manje ukuthi manje kuhlukana ngokuba amanye amalunga alapha ke ebukhosini nawaba nowabo umhlangano nokuyilapho kwabe seqoqa khona umntwana usimakade njengomuntu uyena ofanele ke angenele noma ke athathe ke la ihlalo sobukhosi kodwa yena akazange akumukele ke lokho emveni kwaloko ke kwathi ngomhla ka-3 kuJuni 2021 umntwana ke uThembi Ndlovu ke la okubika ukuthi wabe ke veza noma ke ebhala ukuveza ke lana ke uphikisana ke lapha ke ebhalela umongameli ke walana ke eMzansi ke lana ke ngaphansi ke ngokuholi eveza ke lana ukuthi impela ke ukhona ke ukungaboni ngasolini lapha ke ekhayeni noma ke lapha ke ebukhosini bakwaZulu ke mayelana ukuthi ubani okuyena ofanele athathe izintambo zobukhosi njengoba kula manje ke uluhla ngothi lilaqoqa la umntwana uMisuzulu sinqobile eKazwelithini njengokuyena ofanele ukuthi ahlale esihlalweni ekubeni abanye ngaloluhla ukuthi babe sebeqoke umntwana ke uSimakade Jason Kazwelithini manje ke lokho phela obesekwenza ukuthi kube khona ke manje ungaboni ngasolinye lokuthi ubani ofanele ukuthi ke athathe izintambo zobukhosi.
The issues raised by the affidavits and argument are whether A, there's any coronation implicating public funds underway, B, the applicant prince, the applicant queen, and the applicant princesses have local standing and valid reason to stay the process leading to the identification, recognition, and coronation of Prince Misuzulu. C, whether Prince Misuzulu was legitimately and appropriately identified and nominated as a successor to the late Isilo. And D, whether there is any dispute to the Zulu kingship.
Okuyona amaphuzu ke lana ke avezwa ke la ngokwencwadi ke ifungelwe ke la kuyiwona ke obheka nje kunompikiswana ukuthi ngabe ukhona yini ke ukuhlela noma ke ukugcotshwa ke okuzoba ke khona okusendleleni lapho kuzosebenzisa ke lana ke izindleko ke la zazomphakathi nanokuthi futhi la ukuthi umfaka wesicelo lo umntwana nomfaka wesicelo uNdlunkulu nalaba amazinyane ke esilo kwabantwana ukuthi ngabe phela bona kukhona yini izathu eziphathekayo nezizwakala zokuthi ke manje bamise inqubo yokuthi ke manje kuqabhulwe kuqokwe loyo nanokugcotshwa wamntwana uMisuzulu nanokuthi futhi manje ngabe uMisuzulu uqoke ngokuyiko na ekutheni njengomuntu uyena ofuna ke angene ezinyaweni noma ke esihlalweni senkosi ke isilo nasekho nanokuthi futhi manje ke ukuthi ngabe kukhona yini futhi manje ke ukuphikisana ke lapha mayelana nobukhosi ke lapha ke ekhaya lakaZulu.
Well, under coronation, the subheading coronation, Prince Mbonisi brought the application to stay the coronation of Prince Misuzulu merely on the basis of an unfounded rumor. His application was grounded on the fact that should the coronation take place pending the finalization of the applications of the applicant queen and applicant princesses, that would cause the members of the Zulu Royal Family to divide even further. Further, that such coronation would result in the wasteful and weightless expenditure of public funds.
kwenkosi ukuthi uma ngabe umbonisi umntwana umbonisi uveze udaba lokuthi isicelo sakhe lesasilethe phambi kwenkantolo belethe isicelo esincike entweni yomzwabethi mana la ngitshele mayelana nokuthi kwakuzoba khona ukuthi ke uzogcotshwa lo umntwana ke uMisuzulu manje ke okuyinto ke futhi manje okungazange kube khona nanto akukho ugcotshwa soke kwaqhubeka noma ke kwaba khona kwaphuthulwa kwavezwa njengoba phela bevezile la ngokwabo ke nabo indlunkulu ke nalabantwana ke nokubona phela sokwenza ukuthi phela manje umndeni walapha ke ebukhosini noba lapha ke kaZulu uhlukaneke kakhulu ke manje la njengoba phela manje kwabona lokho uma ngabe ke sekuthiwa ke kukhona ukuthi kuyagcotshwa lokho ungaholela phela manje ekuthenini kube nendleko phela ezingenasidingo nanokuthi phela manje kumoshwe kusetshenziswe ke imali yomphakathi.
The date of 3 December 2021 has come and gone without the arrest coronation taking place, notwithstanding the fact this court declined to grant the urgent relief sought on 2 December 2021. As a consequence, it is now common cause that there is no coronation implicating public funds underway. This application has in fact become moot and irrelevant. However, in my view, it is in the interest of justice and of the Zulu nation to deal with the question of succession to the throne as it has been raised both in the affidavits and argument as a source of dissension and tension in the royal family.
Uyabona ke lapha ngomhla ka3 kuDisemba kunyaka 2021 wafika wazwandlula kodwa ke akuzange sikubone konke lokugcotshwa ke okwakhulunywa ukuthi kuzogcotshwa ke umntwana akuzange kwazi kwaqhubeka kwaphela manje uma usubheka ke la njengoba phela inkantolo iyayigunyaza iyayinxusa ukuthi mayigunyaze ukumisa kokugcotshwa lapha ngomhla ka2 kuDisemba 21 manje futhi impela ke kunjalo ukuthi akuzange kube khona ugcotshwa futhi akuzange kube khona into eyayifaka ukumoshwa ke noma ukusetshenziswa kwemali ke yomphakathi ke la ukuthi mhlawumbe khona imali ezitshenziswa lesikhathi kwenziwa lolu gcotshwo le manje ke ngempela ke ekugcineni isicelo nje lesisifakiwe ke esingenamandla esingenazathu sibambeki nje ilento nje ukuthi uma umuntu ulwise into engenambango into engabambeki ke la futhi nanokuthi uma usubheka ngempela sike kwacaca ukuthi ngempela kukhona le intshisekelo ke la efunekalayo ngokwedingo zomphakathi ke mayelana nodaba lapha ekhosini phela luthinta wonke ke umuntu ke la ngoba phela manje ke kuveziwe ke futhi manje enhlangothini zombili ngokwencwadi ebeyifakiwe lapha kwenkantolo lona ke lolu daba lapha ke ekhosini manje enkantolo iyabona phela manje lokho sekuze kwenza amazinga abushelelezi lapha ekhosini noma ukungabambisana ukungazwani ukukhona lapha ekhosini.
Prince Mangosuthu states that the conduct of the African princesses and African prince is tantamount to holding the entire nation as well as the Zulu Royal Family to ransom through frivolous litigation for the sole purpose of delaying the inevitable. Further, that the conduct of the applicants has the effect of sowing divisions within the royal family as well as within the Zulu nation.
Uyabona ke uma umntwana ke uMangosuthu Buthelezi ukushilo ke ukuthi ngempela uyabona ukuyiphatha kwalaba abangabafaki bezicela bakhona la abantu abamazinyane la abafaka isicelo sokumiswa kokuba kugcotshwe nomntwana ke lo ombonisi ke la ngempela manje lokhu ukwenza ke kwabo ukuthi balethe udaba la enkantolo kuyingxenye nje ukuthi babambezele inqubo la manje ke abasabambezeli nje inqubo yalapha ebukhosini kuphela kodwa lokho kwenza kwabo nje manje kuze kuthelele ngisho nanesizwe samaZulu sisonke uma ngabe phela manje ke bezoletha izicelo efana lezo zizolethwa enkantolo.
Then I move on to deal with the state of the process leading to the identification, recognition, and coronation of Prince Misuzulu. No case has been made by any of the applicants for the staying of the process leading to the identification, recognition, and coronation of Prince Misuzulu as the king of the Zulu nation. The applicant queen repeatedly stated that her application has nothing to do with succession. This is also evident from her abandonment of the interdictory relief she sought in her application relating to the succession issue. The applicant princesses admitted that their application has nothing to do with the succession. They are merely challenging the identification as set out in the late Silo's will, but not the identification of Prince Misuzulu per se.
ukumiswa kokuthi kuqoqwe nanokuthi phela manje kwaziswe lo onguMisuzulu nokugcotshwa kwakhe njengenkosi ngokusemthethweni noma njengesilo kusemthethweni. Cha ngempela alikho icala engathiwa-ke belilela bezwa la ibona abafake isicelo ukuthi bona banxusa ukuthi makumiswe ukuthi lena ukukhonjwa noma ukuqagulwa kwakhe-ke uMisuzulu ukuthi-ke agcotshwe njengenkosi yesizwe samaZulu. Ngoba phela ngisho kwayena uNdlunkulu-ke la oqala lo befake isicelo impela ukushilo ngokuphindelela ukuthi yena ngokusicelo sakhe akahlangene nodaba lokuqokwa komuntu okuyena ofanele athathe izintambo zobukhosi nanokuthi phela lokho kuze kwafakazelwa nangokuthi sizokhumbula ukuthi ey'celweni noma oxhaxheni ley'cela ay'fakile kuthe maqhubeka lolu daba wabe esemisa noma eseyeka okunye ukuthi ezinye zey'cela ukuthi mazilalelwe inkantolo ebeyifaka udaba leli lomuntu okuyena ofuneke aqokwe. Manje-ke futhi uma usubheka nawo-ke lana ama-princess noma amazinyane-ke Silo akuchazi lokho sobalubona abaphikisani nokukhonjwa noma naloyo osuke ezoqokwa nje la njengokuthi abe uyena umuntu ozongena bona nje abe bephikisana nabo-ke bebephikisana nencwadi le yefa lesilo lesi sakhothama kodwa hayi ukuthi banenxa noma baphikisana nokuqagulwa kukamntwana uMisuzulu.
The allegation that the late Silo's will is fraudulent has no direct correlation with Prince Misuzulu's appointment as a king. His name does not feature anywhere in such will. It only features in the late Queen's will, which is not the subject of the applicant's princess application. The issue relating to succession should therefore be dealt with separately from the issues relating to marital status of the applicant queen and the authenticity and validity of the late Silo's will.
Lena-ke izinsolo-ke ezibeziwe mayelana nencwadi yefa yesilo yokuthi kwakhona ukukhwabaniseka-ke la okwenziwe ayimthinti umntwana uMisuzulu mayelana nokuqokwa kwakhe njengenkosi ngoba phela le incwadi yefa yesilo ayifaki igama likamntwana uMisuzulu kodwa ifaka indlovukazi le eseyakhothama okusho ukuthi phela manje-ke sesihlanganisa into ezingahlangani-ke manje ukuthi kuhlanganiswe udaba lale ncwadi yesilo nale yokuqokwa kwamntwana uMisuzulu. Ngaleyo ndlela-ke phela manje-ke nanalolu daba lelo ukuthi sihlanganise udaba lemishado-ke la njengokufaka kwaNdlunkulu lokuqala akuhlangani-ke lokho mayelana nokuthi ngamisa ukuthinta kokuthi umntwana weSizulu yena-ke angaqokwa noma ekuqokweni kwakhe njengenkosi.
According to the second, sixth, and 12th respondents, The applicant prince also does not have local standing to bring an application stating the identification, recognition, and coronation of Prince Misuzulu. Prince Mangosuthu states that as the Prime Minister of the Zulu Nation, he is the only one who is authorized to convene meetings of the royal family to discuss matters pertaining to the royal house. Prince Buthelezi goes on to state that no one has ever convened such meetings except him. The issue should be decided on the plus-con-even rule, and as a consequence, the version of Prince Buthelezi is accepted in this regard. Further, his application, that is the applicant's prince's application, is characterized by the non-joinder of the members of the Lady Silo's family, that is his queens and their respective children. The applicant prince has approached this court on misinformation and wrong facts. He has eventually admitted that there's no official coronation of Prince Misuzulu implicating the public funds underway. Consequently, the applicant has not made out a case for the relief sought in the notice of motion.
Kanti-ke lana uma sesibheka-ke la kulapha abaziphendelayo noma abangabamanga kwesibili kuya kwesithupha-ke la mayelana nesicelo lesifakwa umntwana-ke la sokuthi-kena bona bavezile ukuthi akukho lana-ke abama endleleni yabo mayelana nokuthi nokuqokwa nokugcotshwa-ke kwakhe-ke umntwana uMisuzulu. Kanti sizokhumbula phela ukuthi ngokusho-ke komntwana uMangosuthu Buthelezi uchacisile-ke la yena njengondunankulu-ke lapha-ke esizweni-ke samaZulu ukuthi-ke uyena-ke usegunyeni nanokuthi-ke ukubambeni kwemhlangano lapha-ke enkosini ezindabeni eziphathene nezobukhosi. Futhi washo uqhubeke washo-ke umntwana ukuthi Buthelezi ukuthi lana-ke akekho noyedwa-ke umuntu owake wangamela le mihlangano ngaphandle noma ngale kwakhe. Manje okusho ukuthi-ke futhi-ke la edabeni uyena umuntu oye anikezelele noma ngezinqumo zalapha-ke eziyisithathu. Ngoba phela ngokusho-ke komntwana-ke uButhelezi-ke vele-ke lolu phutha vele esenimukelekile. Okusho phela manje lesi sicelo samntwana la ubonisi-ke la sesichazwe njengomuntu phela manje naye la njengoba bengamfakanga njengomunye la lapha-ke njengelungo la lapha-ke lesilo esingasekho la. Okusho phela manje-ke lapha yena nondlunkulu-ke nabantwana lapha. Manje-ke umntwana umbonisi-ke la indlela eze ngayo la enkantolo ubelahlekisa inkantolo noma enikezelela noma ngolwazi olungalona iqiniso, ngoba phela kwanaye ekugcineni ukumukelile noma wakuveza ukuthi cha ngempela akukho okuphathekayo okusaveziwe kokuthi sekukhona ngokusemthethweni-ke ukuthi-ke kuyogcotshwa umntwana-ke la uMisuzulu-ke la nanokuthi futhi manje lokho kuzobandakanya ukuthi-ke umuwomali-ke la yomphakathi. Manje-ke ngaleyo ndlela kusho ukuthi uhlulekile ukuthi enze noma aveze-ke amaphuzu-ke okukwazi ukuthi kuvunwe noma kuzwakale-ke lesi sicelo sakhe lesifakile.
Identification and nomination of Prince Misuzulu as a successor to the Zulu Throne, that's the subtopic. In terms of Section 8, Section 1 of the Leadership Act, read with Section 1773 of the KZN Act, the Silo is identified and nominated in terms of the customary law and customs. However, the KZN Act does not make provision for the identification and nomination of the successor to the throne through a will. But in terms of the Leadership Act and KZN Act, the royal family has the prerogative to identify and nominate the successor in accordance with the customary law and traditions. It must identify a suitable person for the position before the relevant government functionary can appoint him.
Udaba ke loqokwa ke la loqokwa ke la umntwana ke uMisuzulu njengo yena ke ozongena ke esihlalweni noma ozothatha izidabo njengenkosi lapha enkosini. Ngokomthetho ke la wezomkhulu wendlu ke yana KwaZulu-Natal kuyachazwa ke la ukuthi isilo siye siqokwe kanjani. Siqokwa ngokomthetho ke la wesintu nangokwamasiko noma ke kunjalo kodwa ngokwalomthetho ke la uKZN noma KwaZulu-Natal awenzi ke wona ke izinyazo nokuthemba kufanele uqaquleke noma uqaqulwe bani ukuthi mhlawumbe kusetshenziswa ke iwili okuyona fanele ke ikhombe umuntu kodwa kuye kulandelele ngokomthetho nangokwezingxoxo zomndeni okuyiwona ke phela manje oye uhlale phansi uqobe lowo muntu ke okuwona ofanelekile ukuthi uyona ozomela ngaphambi kokuthi phela manje ke bese kuyandluliselwa ke lapha ke uhulumeni ukuthi ke thina siwumndeni wabantu siye saqaqula bani kuyena kufanele ke azothatha izintambo njengomholi.
The royal family is not an organ of state, but an institution of customary law, exercising its powers in terms of the customary law, custom and processes. The genesis of the processes leading to the recognition of traditional leader lies with the royal family. In performing that function, the royal family initiates a process of identification of a person, which process leads to the exercise of public power and performing a public function of the recognition of that person by the state organ.
Lapha ke ngokomthetho wesintu sethu ke lana banawo abalungelo aba abawasebenzisa umthetho wesintu ke lapho ke ukuthi ke bayaqashwe ke la ezindlini zomdabu ke la zonke into eziphathelana nezomdabu nezesintu zincika ekutheni zithinte lapha ke kwezokhosi nala kwenziwa khona ke imicimbi ethize ke la kanjalo futhi nala mangabe kukhona abantu endlini zomdabu kukhona abantu abaqokwayo zonke izinto eziphathelana ilapho baqhakambiswe khona ke iqhaza labo njengendlu yalapha ke ebukhosini kodwa akukhona phela ekutheni phela bona qobo lwabo sebengasazi njengabantu esingathi la njengento noma.
The identification of a traditional leader or successor to a traditional leader is only the initial part of the administrative action, which will only become ripe for review after the organ of state has taken the decision. It is after that stage that an aggrieved party whose rights have been adversely affected may exit the process and approach a court for appropriate relief. In this matter, the applicant does not seek to review an identification of Prince Misuzulu, but an interdictory relief. The question whether or not the matter is ripe for review does not therefore arise.
Mayelana ke uma sikhuluma ngokuqaqulwa ke lapha ke ngomholi ke lapha ke esintwini njengomuntu noma umuntu okuyena okufanele ke athathe ke ubuholi ke lana ke akukona nje kuphela ukuthi mhlambe ke into engenelela lapha ke ezingeni labo kuphela kodwa kukhona phela ukuthi inkantolo ke ibheke la ukuthi ngabe ke iyona ke manje izobhekelela ekutheni ngabe ngokwenqubo yesintu noma umthetho kulandeliwe noma kwenziwe na nokuyilapho izobheka khona phela ukuthi lapha emalungelweni abo noma ngokwesintu ukhona yini osuke ilungelo lakhe ke la thinteka noma laphazamiseka lena lokuyilapho phela inkantolo kufanele ingenelele khona kubheka ukuthi ke ngokomthetho wesintu ke la la kunalo suke ekubeni noma ke ungazwanga ngendlela efanelekile inkulumo la manje ke uma isibheka ke la nokulapho ngelela khona ukuthi ibheke la ukuthi ngabe ngokwalo daba idinga check phela manje ibheke ukuthi ngabe la uqapho noma ukwenziwa ukukhonjwa kwalowo mntwana uMisuzulu ukuthi ke kwenziwe ngoba ngokwemntwana ubeveza ukuthende makumiswe ungasho phela hayi ukuthi bethi abaqokwa manje ke umbuzo ukuthi ngabe ke kuloko ke kuyelezweni ukuthi ke kulandeliwe imithetho efanelekile noma.
The Zulu Royal Family meeting was held on 14 May 2021. The members of the Royal Family who were present identified Prince Misuzulu as the successor to the throne. The meeting was attended by 140 members from various houses of the Zulu Royal Family. The applicant princesses and the applicant prince were invited, but they elected not to attend. The applicant does not at all dispute the entitlement of Prince Misuzulu to succeed to the Zulu throne, nor was such dispute raised at the meeting or subsequent thereof.
Lapha ke ekhosini kwaba khona ingiyazana yabantu ngomhla 14 kuMeyi unyaka 2021. Wonke amalunga alapha ke ekhosini ayekade ekhona ngesikhathi kuqokwa umntwana uMisuzulu njengokuyena uzothatha isihlalo sokuqala sobukhosini. Umhlangano lo noma ingiyazana ehanjelwe abantu abawu 140 eqhamuka-ke ebhodlweni noma-ke ekhosini abahlukahlukene balapha ekhosini. Manje laba-ke umntwana nalaba abafaka isicelo-ke abasiyanisile abazange bawuhambele nomhlangano ukuthi baye nabo njengoba phela babekade bemenyiwe. Manje-ke futhi-ke lapha abazange futhi bakhombise-ke ukuthi lapha-ke konke okwenzakala noma ngokwekhonjwa kwamntwana uMisuzulu bayaphikisana nokuthi angaqokwa ukuthi angene esihlalweni sobukhosi. Futhi kwakhona lapha emhlanganweni akukho okwavezwa noma okwashiwo ukukhombisa ukuphikisana nokuphakanyiswa ukuqokwa komntwana uMisuzulu.
Prince Bangosuthi Buthelezi, in his capacity as a member of the Zulu Royal Family through Princess Makoko Dlamini-Zulu, proposed and nominated Prince Misuzulu as the successor to the Lady Silo, and the members present at the meeting accepted and agreed with the appointment of Prince Misuzulu to the throne. In fact, he was unanimously identified and nominated as a successor to the Lady Silo. Nobody raised a dispute as to the identification of Prince Misuzulu as the successor to the Lady Silo. There's not even a scintilla of assertion that any other person than Prince Misuzulu is eligible to succeed to the Lady Silo. Prince Magade disavowed that he had expressed any wish to contend for the throne. If anyone disputed Prince Misuzulu's identification and nomination, he or she should have done so at the Royal Family meeting where the matter was discussed.
Waliveza igama phansi igama la Princess lamntwana uMisuzulu njengokuyena ofanelekile ukuthi-ke la akathathe-ke izintambo-ke lapha-ke kuSilo sethu sasakhothama. Kanti-ke amalungu ayekade ekhona lapha emhlanganweni amukela ukuqokwa kwakhe umntwana uMisuzulu njengokuyena ozohlala esihlalweni. Kahle kahle-ke la ukuqoka-ke kwakhe nokukhethwa-ke kwakhe lapha njengoyena ozohlala esihlalweni akuzange kube khona ukuphikisana ukuthi mhlawumbe kube khona ovezayo ukuthi cha bona bayaphikisana njengoba babekade lapha emhlanganweni ukuthi cha abahambisani nalokho. Kanti futhi-ke lana akekho omunye-ke umuntu ovezwe njengokuthi yena osemandleni noma naye usezingeni noma ongakwazi ukuthi alwisane nokuthi yena ungcono usethubeni elingcono lokuthi angaqokwa undlula yena-ke umntwana-ke uMisuzulu. Ngoba ngisho kwayena umntwana uSimakade-ke cha wavezalela kuyena ukuthi cha akaphikisani noma abone ukuthi khona ukulwisana nokuthi kena nokubokwa kwakhe umntwana-ke la uMisuzulu. Manje okusho ukuthi phela uma ngabe kukhona umuntu ongahambisani nowayephikisana nokuqokwa kwamntwana woMisuzulu, lokho phela kwafanele abe khona lapha emhlanganweni ukuze akwazi ukuthi-ke akuveze-ke lokho lapha emhlanganweni.
No allegation has been made that the purported identification of Prince Makade Zulu accords with the Zulu customary law and customs pertaining to succession. Prince Mbonisi lacks local standing. He has failed to identify the persons whom he allegedly represents. He has also failed to identify the lineage of such persons, if there are any, and the core structure under which they seek relief. His application was in any event without merit.
Zinsolo-ke ebezivezwe uyena umntwana kaSimakade la
Mbonisi
ngokwezinsolo bekade ziveziwe-ke la mayelana nokuqokwa komntwana uSimakade-ke la ngokwesintu nangokwamasiko ethu okuveza ukuthi-ke la njengoba phela umbonise uhlulekile ukuthi-ke aveze umuntu okuyena noma amnene noma amveza okuyena ofanele ukuthi kungathiwa ufanele ukuthi agunyaza anikezelelwe lelo gunya lokuthi angene esikhundleni noma-ke eqokweni-ke kunalo oqokwe. Okusho phela manje isicelo sakhe sikhona ngale kweyizathu noma kwamaphuzu azwakalayo ukuthi-ke ingani faka lesi sicelo.
The royal family is constituted of members who form part of the royal family of the 5 precedent kings, Cetshwayo, Dinizulu, Solomon, Phekuzulu, and Zwelithini. There has been no genuine dispute as to the core structure of the royal family, which is central to the decision-making process of the successor to the king. A feeble assertion has been made that the royal family meeting was attended by persons who are not members of the Zulu royal family, and reliance has been sought from Mpepu vs. Mpepu, Ramablan and others, 2019, ZSACA 58, and 2019, volume 7 of the BCLR 862 SCA. In Mpepu, the decision to identify the king of Bavenda was not only taken by the royal family, as required by the customary law, customs, and the traditional leadership and governance framework act. However, in the present case, the persons referred to are faceless and have no name so to make the assertion a reality. Under Zulu customs, a child born of the princess is a prince or princess and a member of the royal family, even if he or she bears a different surname to Zulu. It could have been possible that some members who attended the Zulu royal meeting did not bear a Zulu surname, like Prince Mangosuthu Buthelezi, but if they were born of Zulu princesses, they are members of the Zulu royal family. The applicant princesses and applicant prince did not make application in that some of the people who took a decision to identify and nominate Prince Misuzulu as a successor were not members of the Zulu royal family. The applicant princesses and the applicant prince confessedly stated that they were not in attendance at such meeting, and the allegation that persons were present who were not members of the Zulu Royal Family is a hearsay, which needs confirmation by persons who were in attendance. No such confirmation has come forth.
La okubukhula njengoba bese kuyowavela la inkulumo mpikiswana ke mayelana nalaba okuyibona abafanele noma okuyibona abantu esibathanda abasekhosini ukuthi ababa khona mangabe kwenziwa ke izinqumo la uma ngabe kuqokwa lo osuke ke inkosi inkantolo ke ibe sichaza ukuthi phela akona ukuthi lapha emndenini uma ngabe kukhulunywa ngomndeni wasekhosini kuhlangana bakhona akona ukuthi ke kuhambele umhlangano wasekhosini laba bakaZulu kuphela ngoba phela manje ke kuchaza inkathi ziyacafuna kwelinye icala elaqagulwa lapha ke noma ecala elibhekene nomphepho Ramabulana lapho kwakade kuqabulwa khona ke qaqulwa nokukhonjwa inkosi kubekwa inkosi uVadela la naye manje ke ngokomthetho la wesintu phela uyachaza ngokusuka lo mthetho wesintu phela nangamasiko ukuthi njengoba ke kulolu daba akukona kuphela ukuthi abantu abahambela izinto zasekhosini yilabo ababakaZulu kuphela abanye kuyenzeka engenaso isibongo sakaZulu kodwa uma ngabe ke ezalwa khona inkosi nje ukuthi uma ngabe ke ezalwa abantwana nje umntwana ozalwa amadodakazi akhona akwabantwana bakhona naye useba phela khona ilunga noma unkwangu wakhona lapha ke kaZulu njengaye umntwana uma ngosuthu yize ke la ukuthi ke phela manje ungayeni phela manje naye uZulu kodwa kuba ingcenye manje ke laba abangaba amazinyane esilo lana ke naye umntwana lo abaveza ukuthi manje ke la babe ngohambelanga umhlangano kwathathwa isinqumo abantu sona isibongo salapha ke kwaZulu ekubeni bona babekade benge phela manje kusho sebesitshela ngenziwa bethu ngoba phela bona babengekho lapha qobo kulowo mhlangano lokho phela njengoba bengahambeli la phela manje ayikho into esingathi iyisiqinisekiso kulento bona ke asebeyisho.
The evidence establishes that the identification and nomination of Prince Misuzulu accords with the Zulu law and custom, and that the subject of the Zulu kingdom contributed towards the payment of his mother's lobolo. However, according to Prince Mbonisi, the identification process of Prince Misuzulu on 14 May 2000 was flawed because it failed to develop criteria for the identification of a suitable person to be a successor in terms of Section 2 of the Leadership Act. The section does not deal with the identification and recognition of traditional leadership, but deals with the development of customary law by a particular committee so as to be in line with the Bill of Rights. The relevant section which deals with the identification and recognition of traditional leaders is Section 8 of the Traditional Leadership Act. However, due to Prince Mbonisi's non-attendance at the Royal Family meeting, whatever he states in this regard is hearsay.
Okuhambisana ngokomthetho ke la wamaZulu ke la umayelana nokuthi phela manje kusuke kukhulunywa ngodaba lapha uma ngabe umama waloyo mntwana ukuthi ulotsholwe isizwe nanokuthi futhi ke la uma sibheka ngokomntwana umbonisi ke la njoba ke echaza ukuthi inqubo yokukhethwa kwakhe umntwana umZulu lapha ngomhla 14 kuMeyi kunyaka 2021 hayi ke akuhambanga ke ngendlela efanelekile noma ngomthetho wezobuholi ke la manje ke futhi ke ngokwalo mthetho ke la lo mthetho ke lana awubhekani nokuqagulwa la kwabantu kodwa wona uqhakambisa ngokwesintu labaphukazi bethu la kuhambisana nowamalungelo okuwukuthi-ke la ngokokuchaza-ke kwakhe manje sekuyinto-ke eyiphuma eceleni ngoba phela yena akabanga ingxenye yalo mhlanga ukuthi asitshele ngento ayaziyo kodwa kanje usitshela ngenziwa bento umuntu wayidele.
President Bangosutu Pteles, who was in attendance at this meeting, states that before proposing and nominating the name of Prince Misuzulu as a successor to the late Isilo, he explained the criteria which are taken into account when identifying a person as a successor to the throne. Such criteria are laid down by the Zulu customary law and customs. The following criteria are taken into account: whether the lobolo of that person's mother was contributed wholly or in part by the relevant tribe or nation, and the status of the maternal grandfather of such a person. In the present case, it is common cause that the late Queen's ilobolo was paid by the Zulu nation and that she was born of Eswatini royalty, a daughter of King Sobhuza II. On the ground alone that her lobolo was contributed by the Zulu nation, she precedes other wives in polygamous marriage and becomes a great wife who is expected to bear a successor to the throne.
Uyabona-ke umntwana uma ngosuthi uThelezi la owayekade ekhona la emhlanganweni wakuchaza ngokusobala ngaphambi kokuhlongoza noma kokuphakamisa igama lomntwana uMisuzulu ukuthi la njengokuyena owayezoba ozothatha-ke izitambu zobukhosi-ke lapha-ke kwisilo sesakhothana. Wayechaza futhi inqondo ukuthi yena uma umuntu kuyena okuyaye afaneleke ukuthi angathatha isihlalo sobukhosi onjani na, njengoba phela kuyachaza ukuthi kubhekwe iphuzu lokuthi uma ngabe lapho oNkulunkulu bebonke loyo ndukulu okuyena osuke lotsholwe yisizwe kuye kubhekelele futhi ukuthi phela uyena osemathubeni nanokuthi futhi kubhekwe imuva lakhe lokuthi ngabe uzalwa kuphi, uzalwa ebukhosini na, njengoba phela manje-ke la kulolu daba-ke lolu esikhuluma-ke ngalo indlovukazi lesi yakhothana iyalotsholwa yisizwe kanti futhi uzalwa ebukhosini lapha-ke eSwatini njengoba phela indodakazi kaNkosi uSobhuza wesibili. Manje ngalelo phuzu nje lona-ke lilodwa lokuthi phela yena walotsholwa isizwe samaZulu-ke la kumnika phela ukuthi lapha-ke esithenjini noma-ke lapha-ke ebukhosini kwabanye ondlunkulu uyena obandlovukazi kulaba-ke abanye ngenxa yokuthi phela manje yena uyena osemathubeni ukuthi phela manje akwazi ukuthi anikwe igunya lokuthatha iy'ntambo njengoba phela ewundlovukazi ondlunkulu.
Dispute to Zulu kingship. It is common cause that there is no contender to the Zulu Royal Throne. Prince Magalde, who has been mooted as a possible contender, disavowed any claim to the throne or any intention to do so. As a consequence, Prince Misuzulu remains an undisputed successor to the Zulu throne.
Uyabona-ke uma sesibheka ngale nalokuphikisana-ke la kokhosi-ke la kwaZulu impela-ke kunjalo ukuthi uyabona-ke la akekho umuntu ombangisayo noma umbango la okungathiwa ubangisa umntwana uMisuzulu la kulolu daba ngenxa yokuthi phela kwayena umntwana uSimakade naye usholo ngokwakhe-ke la ukuthi cha hayi ngoba kuwukuthi ubheke ukuthi naye athole la isihlalo-ke la lokho phela kanti osekwenza ukuthi phela manje kusho ukuthi kahle kubangwa umbango ongenamuntu abanga naye uyabangiswa kodwa manje akekho ovelile oveza ukuthi hayi-ke njengoba umntwana ebangiswa nangu omunye abangisana-ke naye. Lokho phela kusho ukuthi manje-ke umntwana uMisuzulu umile nje eqhuzwini ngale kokuthi kube khona omthintayo noma ombangisayo ekutheni-ke kuthiwe nangomunye eceleni kwakhe okuyena naye obheke sona-ke isihlalo sobukhosi.
So he is the undisputed successor to the throne, to the Zulu throne.
Ngempela-ke oqoqiweyo noma ke lokho nje ukuthi maka abe sesihlalweni ngale kokuthi kube khona ophikisana naye.
It has been argued that Prince Misuzulu has been appointed as successor to the late Isilo by the late Queen, who had been nominated and appointed as a successor in the late Isilo's will. However, the will of the late Queen is not impeached. The inevitable conclusion is that even if the late Isilo's will can be found to be invalid, it will not have any bearing on the succession to the Zulu throne. Further, the royal family, which in terms of the Leadership Act and customary law has the prerogative to appoint traditional leadership, assembled on 14 May 2021 and identified Prince Misuzulu as a successor to the late Isilo.
Ngoba kwakhe ukuthi azongena ke la kulesikhundla noma ehlalweni soba-ke Isilo ngenxa yencwadi yefa yesilo esingasekho le elaqoke indlovukazi naye engasekho manje-ke lokho kukholela ekutheni ke phela manje-ke bese bebe nalokuphikisana. Kanti sizokhumbula phela ukuthi umntwana uMisuzulu yena uqokwe ngencwadi yefa yendlovukazi lengasekho okuyiyona engazange ivezwe lenkantolo kwabe inkulumo bekuzwana-ke ngayo. Lokho phela kusho ukuthi manje sizokhumbula-ke la ukuthi njengoba-ke la ngokomthetho wezomholi la kwezendabuka ukuthi-ke phela manje ukuqokwa kwenkosi noma kwesilo kuye kube nenguyazane ibandakanya-ke laba sebukhosini noma-ke yebo abasebukhosini kube yibona-ke abaqoka uloyo asebebona efanele ukuthi athathe izintambo. Ngempela-ke la kulolu daba-ke yiloko kwenzeka-ke la ngoba ngomhla 14 kuMeyi kunyaka 2021 umntwana uMisuzulu-ke waqokwa-ke njengokuyena-ke owayezongena-ke lana-ke esihlalweni Silo Sapota.
There is no genuine dispute as to the succession of Prince Misuzulu, as he is, in terms of the customary law and custom, the rightful heir to the throne. No one has disputed the correctness of the customary law and custom by which the name of Prince Misuzulu was raised and endorsed by the royal family. The applicant princesses and the applicant prince have not made any assertion that the appointment of Prince Misuzulu was not in accordance with the Zulu customary law and traditions. The letter Princess Thembindlovu addressed to the president stating that there was a disagreement in the Zulu royal family as to who should succeed to the throne between Prince Misuzulu and Prince Smagade did not comply with the provisions of Section 8, Section 4 of the Leadership Act.
Impikiswano mayelana nokuqokwa ke kwakhe ke umntwana ke uMisuzulu njengoba phela manje ngokomthetho umthetho ke la wesintu ke impela umntwana uMisuzulu ufanelekile ukuba yena njengomntwana ozoqoka ukuthi ahlale lapha ehlalweni. Njengoba phela manje ke akekho umuntu osaphikise isintu sethu nalomthetho wesintu okuyiwona angaphansi ke kwona ngendlela yena ke futhi umntwana ke akhuliswe ke ngawo njengoba phela lapha ebukhosini nanokuthi futhi uma sibheka ngokwalabantwana abebephikisana la nokugcotshwa kwakhe umntwana uMisuzulu akukho akakuvezileke la ukuthi yena akuhambisani nomthetho wesintu namasiko ke na ukuthi ke ukuqokwa kwakhe ngoba futhi mobheka nanencwadi le yamntwana uThembindlovu ethula lapha ke kumongameli ukuthi ke ngempela ke kukhona ke ukuphikisana noma ke ukungavumelani mayelana nokuthi ke kuqokwe umntwana ke uMisuzulu ke la nomntwana ke kufunwa lombanga khona phakathi umntwana uMisuzulu umntwana uSmagade ayihambisani noma ayigcwalisi zonke izidingo ezihambisana nomthetho lokhu ubona ke uqokwa kwezaba ho
The President should act when there is evidence or allegation that the identification of a person as a king or queen was not done in accordance with customary law and customs. No such evidence or allegation has been brought to the notice of the President in this regard. The letter of Princess Thembile lacked the necessary allegation that Prince Misuzulu, who was identified by the royal family, had not been identified in accordance with Zulu customary law and traditions, and that Princess Magade has a better right or entitlement to succeed to the throne. More so, it is common cause that Prince Magade declined the nomination, as the result is not a contender. Even if he purported to accept the nomination, he could not have legitimately been identified, as he does not qualify in terms of the Zulu customary law and customs. Prince Magade's purported identification was therefore doomed. The applicants have therefore failed to make out a case that there is a dispute about the successor to the throne on the basis of which the President or the Premier may investigate or refer the matter back to the Zulu Royal Family for consideration and resolution.
Phela ke umongameli kufanele athatha izinyathelo ezinyathelweni kube kukhona ubufakazi obambekayo mayelana nezinsolo zokuqoka kwaloyo osuke eyinkosi noma uNdlunkulu okuwukuthi ke lana kwenziwa ngabe ngokosiko noma ngokomthetho. Abukho ubufakazi ke obuveza noma izinsolo eziye zavezwa phambi kwalenkantolo lena kuye eziye zavezwa phambi kwakhe umongameli ke kulokho. Uyabona incwadi le kaMntwana uThembi Ndlovu ngempela ke ibikade inteka ibihluleka ukuthi iveze iphuzu lokuthi la umntwana ke uMisuzulu okuyena ke owaqokwa lapha ke ebukhosini ke la ukuthi ngempela ke akazange aqokwe ngokomthetho ke wamaZulu noma ke wesintu, nanokuthi futhi aveze phela ukuthi ngabe umntwana uSimakade yena usesimeni ke esingcono noma usemathubeni ke angcono ukuthi yena angakwazi ukuthi ke ahlale lapha ehlalweni sobukhosi. Nani ukuthi kakhulukazi uma sobheka ke futhi la into ke futhi esiyaziyo engaphezulu ukuthi umntwana uSimakade waphikisa ukuthi yena ukuqokwa kwakhe wazihlangula ke la, nanokuthi futhi manje vele yena engeke afaneleke ukuthi phela angenele lapho akekho ezingeni lokuthi angaba umntwana ogunyazwa ukuthi angaqokwa ukuthi athathe leso sihlalo leso ke. Manje ke phela laba abafaka isicelo bahlulekile ukuthi phela manje ke baveze lana ke amaphuzu abo okuphikisana nalona oqokiwe ke la esihlalweni ke la, ukuze phela manje ke umongameli noma ke undunankulu akwazi ukuthi phela manje enze uphinyo lakhe nanokuthi futhi aphinde abuyisele udaba ke emuva lapha ke esigodlweni noma lapha ke ebukhosini ukuze baqale phansi manje bayicubungule babhekelele ke la ngokwe ukuthi bekhona isixazululo abazonikezela ngaso.
There's no basis for interdicting the process leading to the recognition and coronation of Prince Misuzulu. The Premier or the President as the organ of state has not yet acted which could justify an approach to the court for a review, if it were to be sought. Had the applicant sought a review of the identification, their application would have been solely dismissed on the ground that it is premature. The nomination and appointment of Prince Misuzulu as successor to the throne and king of the Zulu nation in terms of the wishes of the late queen in her will has been subsumed by the decision of the royal family identifying and nominating Prince Misuzulu as the king of the Zulu nation. The royal family has the prerogative to identify and nominate traditional leadership. The wishes of the late king or queen with regard to the succession are important, though they are not decisive. The late queen nominated and appointed her firstborn son, Prince Misuzulu, as the king of the Zulu nation. Failing him, she nominated and appointed any of her sons to be the successor to the throne, this demonstrates clearly that the late Queen was fully alive to the fact that her last wishes as to the nomination and appointment of Prince Misuzulu may not be decisive. More so, there's nothing in this matter showing that the royal family merely deferred to the wishes of the late Queen, and that such wishes were not in accordance with the Zulu customary law and traditions.
Nanokuthi-ke futhi-ke la izathu ziye zavezwa-ke la mayelana naloku kumiswa kokuthi-ke la ukugcotshwa noma ukuqagulwa kwakhe umntwana uMisuzulu la undunankulu-ke la umongameli abalapha-ke uhulumeni-ke la bebengakagunyazwa noma bengafaneleki ukuthi-ke lolu daba balungelelele nje ngokwenkalo ukuthi libhekelele njengoba phela manje ngokwalabo abafaka isicelo abamangali-ke la bengakabuyekezwa ngoba babheke ukuqagulwa nokukhonjwa indlela abenze ngayo laba baphuthumile kuwukuthi kungakafanele indlela abasheshe ngayo phela ukuqagulwa nokukhonjwa kwakhe umntwana uMisuzulu njengoyena ozohlala lapha-ke esihlalweni sobukhosi AmaZulu kwasukela noma lapha-ke kwaba isifiso saloyo indlovukazi siyakhothama ngokuthi phela manje-ke imbali encwadini yakhe yefa ukuthi-ke uyena-ke ozothatha isihlalo sobukhosi-ke laphana nanokuthi futhi-ke lana-ke aphinda achaza ukuthi ukucaca ukuthi wayehambisana nomthetho-ke la wesintu nowamasiko ukuqagula-ke kwakhe lapho ngoba phela indlovukazi lengasekho-ke iyaqoka umntwana uMisuzulu njengomntwana wakhe wokuqala ukuthi uyena ofanele-ke athathe-ke izintambo. Kodwa-ke uma ngabe-ke lokhu akamukeli noma ehluleka lokho kwakuzoba abanye bamadodana-ke akhe. Lokho kucaca okusobala ukuthi phela manje yena umntwana yena indlovukazi le yayinalo ulwazi-ke la lokuthi-ke kungenzeka ukuthi ukunquma kwakhe ukhetha kwesinqumo sokuthi athi ukuqagula umntwana uMisuzulu kungabi ukuphela yisona sinqumo ukubhakathi-ke ukubona kufanele kulandelele nanokuthi futhi manje-ke lapha-ke ekhosini-ke la uma suvela akukho abasekhombisa ukuthi la manje-ke abahloniphi noma abazimukeli izifiso zale indlovukazi esengasekho okusho ukuthi ngaleyo ndlela konke lokho ayekwenzile wayesalandelela umthetho wesintu.
The evidence establishes that there's no contender to the throne who professes or is professed to have a better right, entitlement, or title to succeed to the throne than Prince Misuzulu. The applicant has not made out any case that the identification of Prince Misuzulu as a successor to the throne was not in accordance with Zulu customary law and customs and the provisions of Section 8, Section 1 of the Leadership Act, read with Section 17 of the KZN Act. The applicant is accordingly failed to establish any right which is protectable by an interdict.
Ngokobufakazi-ke obuthe bavezwa-ke phambi kwanenkantolo ubuyaveza ngokusobala ukuthi kahle kahle akekho umuntu obangisana obangisana nalesi sikhundla salapha isihlalo lesasekhosini ongachaza ukuthi ungcono kunaye uMisuzulu ngale kwakhe uMisuzulu ukuthi uMisuzulu uyena osemathubeni noma elingcono mina okusho ukuthi laba abafaka isicelo ngempela bahlulekile ukuthi baveze ubufakazi bokuveza ukuthi uMisuzulu lo ungani noma-ke ingaphi amakhulu ngokomthetho wesintu lo ukuthi yena ungani-ke yena bengafanele ukuthi angaqokwa.
And the result, the application is dismissed with costs, such costs to include the costs of 2 counsel. And this concludes the 3 applications.
ngalondlela-ke inkantolo iyasichitha-ke isicelo esifakwe umntwana yena ubonisiwe bese-ke inkantolo-ke ithi-ke la iy'ndleko-ke chitha ney'ndleko zakhona bengabe zokhokha iy'ndleko-ke lezana ngaleyo ndlela-ke kusho ukuthi zombili zontathu iy'celo bezifakwe phambi kwayo inkantolo-ke isiziphothulile.
The court adjourns.
And so we come out of those court proceedings in Pietermaritzburg over the will of the late king of the AmaZulu. Let's just wrap some of what the judge said a little bit earlier on. He spoke about how issues of succession should be dealt with separately from this matter. Queen Sibongile seeking a declaratory order that was not allowed. The court dismissed Queen Sibongile Zulu's bid to get half of the late king's estate. We also know that the judge spoke about King Misuzulu remaining the undisputed successor there and saying that there's no contender to the Zulu throne after no one else emerged as eligible, and the execution of the late AmaZulu king's will has been suspended. My colleague Vusi Kumalo is in Pietermaritzburg and he will be updating us on this court case a little bit later on. For now, it's time to take a short break.
At Telkom Business, when we say we'll beat any fixed line voice or internet quote, we mean it with added value. Make sure you have the tools to seal the deal. We're on it. Give you a reliable connection wherever you are. Sorted. So send your quote or invoice to beat my quote at telkom.co.za and we'll beat it. Switch to the partner that works harder to connect your business. Switch to Telkom Business.
At Stories Untold, we showcase the inspirational stories of people who have beaten the odds stacked against them to become catalysts for social change and nation building.
It really is about having a phenomenal team that is empathetic and is capable of giving the marginalized community an opportunity to tell their story authentically.
For me, it's about raw stories where you find resilient people who refuse to be defined by their living conditions.
So, Kavin, what I'm saying is, you remember they said, when they gave the first ruling, they said applicants have been
Yes.
So what happened in court earlier on?
Yes, good afternoon, Zinga, as well as the viewers. We are still outside here, the Pietermaritzburg High Court, where the Judge Deputy President Isaac Mjabliseni Matondo was deliberating on 3 judgments being brought by the Queen Sibongile, the first wife of the late king, as well as she brought an application claiming half of the late king's estate. And also, perhaps let us see if we can have a word with Prince Thulani. If I can please have Prince Thulani as well. Just a few about your reaction to what happened earlier on today in court.
No, we're happy. We all expected that King Misuzulu will be confirmed today. In fact, real confirmation, because we as the Zulu nation have known that he was the king. But there is neither a winner nor a loser in this. All we're interested in is the stability behind the king and the stability in the Zulu nation. You know, there are so many programs that have not been continued, that were discontinued. You remember there was suspension of the funds for the program of the royalty, and that has brought misery to us. So we're happy that we are going to continue with the program of the king, and the nation will go forward. And we hope people who were said to be opposing will now see the truth and come and join the king, because this is not for the first time. Go back to Ndondaksuga, and you know, even King Shaka was assassinated, was killed by the member of the royal family, the close family. So this is not for the first time, but after all, we're expecting that we will come together and work together and go forward. People must come back to their senses. It was just a misunderstanding, temporarily so.
Yeah, but the court also did made a mention that it is not for this court to make a judgment regarding the succession.
Of course, it's not the court that must give the judgment or appoint the king for us. It's the customary law. We have, the kingdom has been there before the government. Democracy is something that came now. But long ago, there has been kings, and the royalty and the Zulu custom has been in the fore as far as appointing the king is concerned. So the judge was correct.
Just lastly, so the royal family is going ahead with the coronation plans?
Of course, we're going ahead with the coronation plans, and it's long overdue, although we don't have so much details at the moment. But Prince of Rapindangene, as Undungunankulu Zulu, will be able to chart the way forward. Thank you so much.
Okay. Can you have a word with Prince Bambindlovu, who is the brother? Okay. So it in you. Okay, you may please have just a word with you. Ray. Can you have a word with the Prince Bambindlovu, the brother of Misuzulu, nominated King of AmaZulu? Just your reaction.
All I can say, as the Zulu Royal Senior Prince of Wakangela, we are very, very happy that we have come and the court has come to an answer and give us an answer for the future of the Zulu kingdom. Thank you.
Thank you. What do you say about the other matters that were dismissed today, especially by the Queen Sibongile's application to claim half of the king's estate?
Sorry?
Just your reaction to the whole application.
Well, the family will get together and resolve and come up with a perfect solution for that. I cannot speak for myself. I've got the rest of my family to discuss that with. Thank you.
Perhaps have you had a word with nominated King Misuzulu, because he's your brother, about what has transpired here? What is his feeling about this?
I definitely know that he's very happy wherever he is. I definitely know that. I have not spoken to him, but I will be speaking to him very, very soon. Thank you.
This is the brother of the nominated king, Prince Misuzulu. His name is Prince Bambi Ndlovu, who's saying that wherever he is, nominated King Misuzulu is happy about what has actually transpired here inside the Pietermaritzburg High Court. As you heard earlier on about the application, the first application was by the Queen Sibongile, whose application was to claim half or 50% of the late king's estate, and that the Judge Matondo did say that he was not asked or requested to make all other marriages, 5 other marriages, as invalid. Let us grab in our reporter now, Mr. Mbongani, just to tell us about what has really transpired today, especially with regards to the 3 applications before Judge Matondo.
Yes, Vusi, as expected, Judge Isaac Matondo did deliver his judgments on the 3 matters that were before him. As you know, the first one was the order that was sought by the Queen Sibongile Zulu, wanted this court to give a declaration that she was married to the king in a civil marriage, and that's actually associated to 50% of the king's estates. We heard the court saying that, well, that order is now being dismissed with cause, because it's saying that the queen did not specify in her application which of the estates that she's entitled to, because the judge did say that the estates of the royal family is separated into 5 categories, so she did not say which of these estates is she entitled to. He also did say that that issue was not being disputed by any member of the royal family, so the court can only give a declaration where there is a dispute. So a declaratory order is only given in a matter where there is a live dispute, and this specific matter there is no disputes. No one is disputing that the queen was married to the king in a civil marriage. The second issue, Vusi, was the one brought by the 2 daughters, the 2 princesses, who wanted this court to interdict the execution of the last will of the late King Zulu. The court now has indeed interdicted the execution of the will, saying that until the validity of that signature has been determined by another court. So until that, because we know that that matter is now going on trial, so that matter will only, the will only be executed once the trial court has determined on the validity of the signature.
And the application by Prince Mbonisi?
Yes, that was the last application. As you know, Prince Mbonisi wanted to also interdict the coronation that was rumored to be taking place in December. Now the court, as you've heard, saying that, well, first of all, that was just a mere rumor. There were no facts, and Prince Mbonisi failed to give enough evidence to the court. That's what the coronation was scheduled to take place. Also, the court saying that, well, that matter, they filed an urgent application and was not heard in December. That's why it was only being heard now. The court now has dismissed that, saying that they won't determine on the coronation. That was just a rumor.
Okay, thank
you.
Yes, that's Mr. Kema, our SABC reporter, Bongan Kema, who was inside the court. Let us hand it back to you, Nzinga, in studio.
Pusi Kamala with a very comprehensive wrap and reaction to that ruling that was handed down. And that's where we leave it for now. My colleague Nompumela Lesiziba is standing by with your business and market.